The state of Nevada is one of the most visited in the United States, home to the Mojave Desert, Las Vegas, the Hoover Dam, and Lake Tahoe. For a state visited by so many, it offers very little for roller coaster fans and even less for theme park fans. In 1994, on the side of Highway 15, 45 miles outside of Vegas, the world's tallest, fastest, steepest, and longest roller coaster opened, and it wasn't really that good.
I was stupid. I was really stupid.
Located around 45 miles outside of Las Vegas, down Interstate 15, Primm, Nevada, formerly known as State Line, crosses the border between California and Nevada. A community which is known to attract gamblers from Southern California wanting to stop before heading all the way into Vegas, or when heading the other way, the final stop to gamble before California, where it is illegal. In the mid-1970s, the Primm family opened a 12-room motel and small casino that would eventually transform into the hotel and casino complex named Whiskey Pete's, which opened in 1977. Built by Gary Primm and the Primm family, one of the highlight attractions people came to see was the original gangster cars used by Bonnie and Clyde. The original hotel was followed by the red and white Victorian-style Prima Donna Resort in 1990. Which would incorporate several amusement-style attractions such as a Ferris wheel. The largest project, at 46,000 square feet, will be a third in the complex, called Buffalo Bill's Hotel and Casino, costing $130 million to complete, with 618 rooms, 4 quaint eateries, a buffalo-shaped swimming pool, a child-sized train atop a set of railway tracks suspended from the ceiling, robotic cowboys strumming guitars in a huge 4,000-pound recreation of a giant oak tree, which was built by the same designers as the figures for E.T. Adventure at Universal Studios, and even a 6,500-seat special events arena to host rodeos and concerts. Not only that, it would offer multiple attractions within. The Adventure Canyon water flume would also be created inside, which would climb more than 4 stories, splashing riders on a 5-minute trip, taking you through a man-made mountain complete with wisecracking vultures and animatronics made by Garner Holt. It would offer a Wild West themed experience and one you would now want to stop at on your way past. It would also offer something completely unique.
You would think that the most exciting amusement park attractions are only found in the major cities. Not out here in the middle of the desert. Well, I'm here at Buffalo Bill's Resort and Casino, located just outside of Las Vegas on the California-Nevada border, and you won't believe what they're offering for the first time this year. They call it the Desperado, and it's being billed as the fastest and tallest roller coaster in the world.
After the first hypercoaster had opened at Cedar Point in 1989 with Magnum XL200, it would be another arrow designed by Ron Toomer that would take the world's tallest title next.
Well, I'd heard about the first roller coaster to be built that was over 200 foot high, and that was at a park called Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. So the year it opened, I went to see it, and I sat in the front seat early one morning and went down the first dip, and it was just an amazing experience. It was almost like St. Paul on the road to Damascus. I saw a vision, and I said, we must have one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
In May 1994, the Pepsi Max Big One opened at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in the UK, with a height of 213 feet and a drop of 205 feet. There was a period where it was advertised as 235 feet, even though that was above sea level. Classic. The ride began construction in 1992 and cost £12 million when complete. While Blackpool's coaster was the highest in the world at the time, still Phantom at Kennywood would have the longest drop, at 225 feet, opening in 1991. It was hotly contested if it held the record or not at the time.
There is a ride at Kennywood, which is the second mega coaster to be built, Now there they have a very steep drop that goes down a cliff, but the ride and the pull-up of the ride aren't very high at all. But of course, as it's going down a cliff, they claim that their first dip is slightly longer than ours, but it starts from a very low height.
Is it classified as a hypercoaster because the drop length exceeds the 200 feet requirement? Still, Phantom had inversions, so does it class as a hyper at all? Phantom's Revenge has no inversions, so maybe it turned into a hypercoaster? Some coasters are over 200 feet, but have less than 200 drops. Are they still classed as a hypercoaster? Was High Roller the tallest coaster in the world at over 1,000 feet? Wait, is Orion really a giga? Let's not go into that one.
Ours is just the highest roller coaster, and at the moment we think the fastest roller coaster in the world.
This will always be the fastest roller coaster in the world because we're not starting at 0 miles an hour or kilometers an hour when we come over the hill. We are going about 18 miles an hour, so that's how we hit over 80 miles an hour at the bottom. So for all those roller coaster builders out there, you're going to have to go about 260 feet in the air to beat it.
Have I lost track of what I was talking about and gone down an unanswerable rabbit hole? Well, the answer to that one is not yet, at least. For this expedition though, we're looking at coasters over 200 feet tall. Looking to attract people driving by the interstate, President and CEO of Primm Resorts Inc., Gary Primm, often found himself stood outside by the highway wondering how to bring more people into the hotels and casinos. With less than an hour to get to Vegas and the 2 casino Gold Stripe resorts nearby, the competition was tough. The answer would be a new record-breaking coaster. Primm contracted Aerodynamics to build another hypercoaster that will be highly visible from the road. While many outlets describe the new coaster as the tallest in the world, at 209 feet high, it was slightly shorter than the big one, unless we start measuring the new coaster from sea level, of course. It did have the same length drop at 225 feet as Still Phantom, but we will ignore that because it was down a cliff, so apparently it doesn't count. And the 1995 Guinness World Records awarding this brand new coaster, Desperado, as the tallest roller coaster in the world, so it has to be real.
I think the thing that we've seen over the last 10 years is what some writers have called a coaster arms race going on in the United States. And I and our company have been accused of fueling the thing. What happens when you build the world's biggest roller coaster is if the guy can say, I've got the biggest one in the world, people will come from around the world to look at it and get on it.
Arrow would create a coaster that you could see for miles above the Nevada desert that would make anyone want to stop and come into the casino as they drove past. Primm insisted the load for the new ride would be inside the casino, to make visitors have to travel through and spend money on their way to ride the Desperado. Opening with the resort in August 1994, the new $10 million roller coaster would cost guests $3 each to ride, and change the State Line Casino area from the poor cousin to Las Vegas to a must-visit destination. Within just 3 months, 330,000 people had been on the coaster. It was a long journey through the casino and outside, reaching top speeds of 80 miles per hour on the 2-minute 43 ride. Starting in the casino, the ride ascends outside up the 209-foot lift hill and heads down the 225 drop at 60 degrees into a tunnel. The second drop is a 155-foot spiral, creating nearly 4 Gs. The ride features camelbacks that give little airtime before a finale drop over the Adventure Canyon log flume ride and mountain. The best part of the coaster is the multiple near misses and interaction with the other rides. The track curves around the theme mountain and dives through a tunnel in an upside helix before heading back to the station. Within 1 year, the ride had carried more than 1 million riders. Some riders loved the new coaster and really enjoyed it. Some, however, found it extremely rough from the day it opened. Newspapers warned you that coming off you may be bruised and sore in 1994. Another opening year review stated they were glad they were staying at the hotel as they were sore the next morning they woke up.
I like to think of roller coasters as a lot more than just a mechanical system. I still feel there's a lot of room for artistic expression, and that when the things are finished, they're beautiful.
Time has been even unkinder to Desperado. The sharp turns and angles can make for a really uncomfortable ride, complete with lots and lots of rattling throughout on its awkward transitions. In 1999, American stage magician and Las Vegas permanent fixture Lance Burton featured the coaster on his show Top Secret. Where he staged an illusion in which he appears to escape the path of a speeding train. Over the years, not too much has changed on Desperado. The Buffalo Bills Resort continued to expand around it. In 1999, the Prima Donna Casino Resorts Company was acquired by MGM. In 2001, there was an unconfirmed rumor a train derailed, but no solid evidence was found or reported in the media. 2004, the ride was lit with fireworks for the 10th anniversary. Early 2007 saw MGM sell the Primm Valley Resort to Herbst Gaming, now called Affinity Gaming, for $400 million. 2 years later, the company was considering bankruptcy due to the poor financial results blamed on the economic slowdown and the smoking ban. Analysts, however, blamed overpaying for Primm casinos, which were facing increased competition from expanding tribal casinos nearby. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2009. The deal gave full ownership of slot route operations to its creditors, with the company emerging in 2010, now owned by a group of 140 investment companies and banks.
It literally goes through Buffalo Bills Casino, so people who are inside playing get to see the roller coaster firsthand.
At 209 feet, this steel Wrangler rules the frontier.
For many years, the coaster opened only at weekends for riders to get on, until 2018 when all rides were closed until further notice. The future looked uncertain for the mostly standing but not operating Desperado. Many of the offerings inside the hotel and casinos were closed. The hotel itself was a long way from the themed fun experience that many considered an alternative to Las Vegas all those years ago. The only place to eat was a Denny's. No luggage car or assistance can be found. Buffalo Bill's Hotel and Casino was now just a rundown stop on the road to Vegas, with a huge, abandoned roller coaster sitting outside. Desperado is still listed on the website, with a $15 ride cost and an increase to 52 inches for riders compared to 48 on opening day, with it stating it is currently closed until further notice. Surprisingly though, in late 2019, the ride did reopen. The resort is currently closed, but when it is expected to reopen on December 27th, Desperado is expected to run once again Friday through Sunday. For how long though, is anyone's guess. If you do have the chance to ride it, now is the time before that option will no longer exist. With the decline of Californians visiting Las Vegas, it has taken its toll no harder than on the casinos of Primm, Nevada. The once full of life, exciting and thrilling area is a shell of what it once was. Those who did visit now were rarely the target audience to ride this large roller coaster. One look at the recent reviews just shows the poor state of this hotel. Desperado may be slightly boring, slightly rough and expensive to ride, but it is an icon to see next to the side of the road, in the middle of nowhere. While it might not be as great as Magnum XL200, which was designed without computers, compared to Desperado and the big one, this once record-breaking coaster did exactly what it was built to do, and that was to create a view that would draw people in from the highway, and it did exactly that, making this a classic coaster. It may be rough, but given the chance, I will be straight there riding it, and hey, it's better than wasting $15 on a slot machine anyway.
We've come a long way since I started in this thing. We started out with one roller coaster, went 40 feet off the ground, and the top speed was about 30 miles an hour. And it was a pretty exciting coaster because it had sharp corners and things like that. We hadn't learned a great deal about turning and curving and what happens to the people when you do some of these things. They finally got up to 75 feet high, and about that time we started working on corkscrews that go upside down, and that was a little more exciting than most of the things that had happened before. And in the case of Desperado here, of course, we have a couple of buildings and a casino we had to deal with. And when I look at one of these rides, after it's all up and running and all this, I can hear people screaming and go stand around by the train, and they get off and how great it was, and it's what makes it all worthwhile. I think everyone in the world knows by now that I don't ride the things anymore, and I've ridden enough of them in my time to know what they do, and I've just given up going on these that are this big.
The coaster wars were really starting to heat up, with 1994 being one of the best years for coasters around the world. The tallest title would change once again 2 years later, when Fujiyama at Fuji-Q Highland would open at 259 feet. Gary Primm would acquire an option to buy an 18-acre site on the Las Vegas Strip in the 90s. Prima Donna Resorts approached MGM Grand president Bob Maxey in 1994 with an idea for the site, a casino recreating the New York skyline. Construction began in 1995, with a resort opening 2 years later. He would once again choose to have a roller coaster travel through the property's interior and exterior. This time though, it would be an even rougher experience. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Theme Park. Next time we look at another Nevada coaster, so make sure you subscribe to join the expedition. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes, and a special thank you to our patrons for supporting the channel. We will see you next time.